Within minutes, central London was completely paralyzed. Not because of political unrest, natural disasters, or mass demonstrations, but because of the arrival of a figure whose name is never out of the global conversation: Jin from BTS. Since early morning, waves of people have continued to flow from various parts of the city towards the heart of the British capital, forming a sea of people filled with banners, flags, and exclamations full of emotion. This atmosphere is not an illusion of the masses, but rather a reality that reflects how deeply a South Korean artist influences the dynamics of a transcontinental public. The fundamental question now arises: how is one individual able to move millions of people in one geographical point simply because of his presence in a country? BTS Jin's arrival to London sparked an incredible chain reaction. Tens of thousands of people packed Westminster, Trafalgar Square, and along the main road to the Victoria Memorial. At various points, the security forces seem overwhelmed to manage the flow of people who continue to arrive. Not only the Army of Great Britain, but also of other European countries. They did not come to see the concert, nor the launch of the album, but merely to welcome the star who finally set foot in London after his military service. Among the crowd, a large red banner caught the world's attention: "We never stopped waiting for you, Jin." The sentence became a symbol of loyalty, waiting, and sincerity of incalculable value. On the other hand, some fans seemed to hold up a sign that read, "I love you, Jin," with a full expression of emotion, as if to say that love and support has never diminished even though time goes on. Jin's presence is not just an entertainment event. This was a moment that changed the temporary social structure of the city. Local authorities confirmed that some public transport lines had to be suspended due to the heavy crowds. In fact, the schedule of public activities around Westminster must be adjusted to ensure the safety of visitors and officers on the ground. Vendors around the site acknowledged the unusual surge in visitors, calling it the biggest unplanned crowd they've ever seen. The reaction of the international media was no less swift. Major news channels from Europe, North America, and Asia report on the phenomenon in real time. The BBC called it an emotional crowd on a global scale, while The Guardian noted that London has not experienced a pop culture event with such a strong social impact since the Beatles era. It is not far-fetched that some cultural observers even compare the Jin phenomenon to the wave of cultural change of the 20th century, but this time it is controlled by digital connectivity and loyalty across generations. Interestingly, this overwhelming welcome was not driven by a massive promotion or marketing campaign on the part of the agency. It is purely a collective movement of the army that has organized itself organically through social media and the international community. Coordination occurs virtually, but the impact is real and massive. London bears witness that fan loyalty today is not just about music or idols, but also about global emotional and cultural attachments. Jin, known as a warm and humble figure, did not give long speeches. However, his presence, his smile, and small gestures like waving from inside the vehicle were enough to thrill the ranks of the army that stood for hours under the overcast skies of London. Some of them are even willing to spend the night around the site in order to get a leading position. The emotion on their faces was not made up. Some cried, some prayed in silence, others just stood staring at the phone screen, making sure they captured every second of this historic moment. The fact that no official event is designed, no big stage or live broadcast, makes this event even more meaningful. It is a spontaneous welcome from a public that really misses the figure they consider part of their life. Jin is not only an artist, he is a symbol of hope, sincerity, and cross-border connections that cannot be explained by conventional marketing logic. Against the backdrop of Big Ben and other historical monuments, the ARMY crowd makes the City of London seem to turn into an open stage full of purple and unconditional love. Even after Jin left the location, the emotional atmosphere was still felt. Some fans stayed in place, singing BTS songs together, handing out food, and chatting in different languages. No age limit, no country limit. All converge in one goal: welcome the genie. Security confirmed that the situation was proceeding in a very orderly manner, although the number of mobs exceeded predictions. This shows the maturity level of the ARMY community that is not only loyal, but also responsible. Many of them were seen collecting garbage on site, maintaining order, and helping exhausted fellow fans. Meanwhile, cultural observers call this event a phenomenon that deserves a deeper study. In a global entertainment world often dominated by aggressive marketing and media imagery, BTS's welcome to Jin shows that an authentic emotional connection still plays a major role. And London, today, is a stage that proves it for armies around the world. It's not just about welcoming Jin. It's about proving that their love and support during this time is not a mere digital discourse. They are present, physically and emotionally. And the world is now watching that BTS's Jin isn't just back. He's coming home to the hearts of millions who never stop waiting. Don't forget to subscribe to keep abreast of our in-depth coverage of Jin, BTS, and the next surprises in major cities around the world. However, amid the uproar of BTS's massive welcome to Jin in London, one fundamental question arises that should not be overlooked. Did this whole event really take place as reported? Or is it possible that some of the information circulating is just the result of engineering, visual manipulation, or media narrative manipulation in order to create a sensation? A photo that went viral on Twitter showed thousands of people standing in front of the Victoria Memorial holding up banners that read, "We never stopped waiting for you, Jin." The short video uploaded on TikTok even features a crowd of fans crying while singing the song Epiphany in the middle of the street. However, did it really happen in the claimed time and place? Was the video filmed directly on the day of the genie's arrival, or maybe just an old moment associated with the events of this day? Some netizens began to question the validity of the moment. They questioned how it was possible for 100 million people to take to the streets in a city whose demographic capacity is only about 9 million. Is the number hyperbolic, rhetorical, or just a polished clickbait strategy with an emotional narrative to seem more incredible? It is important to note that most of the documentation of these events is sourced from social media platforms such as TikTok, YouTube Shorts, as well as Twitter threads that are not all verified. Some video clips appear to be out of sync in time or location. There are videos that were allegedly shot not in London but in Seoul or Paris, and then edited in such a way as to seem like part of the events being talked about. In fact, there are allegations that some footage is the result of AI-generated content that manages to deceive the layman's eye because it looks very convincing. Are you, as a reader, absolutely sure that every photo and video you see depicts the real event? Or are you being part of a flow of viral information that is not necessarily factual? We would like to reiterate that in a digital ecosystem that is constantly moving at a rapid pace, it is very easy to get caught up in the emotions built up by powerful narratives, touching images, and jarring titles. But as consumers of information, our responsibility is not just to redistribute, but to verify. Have these events been covered by major independent media? Is there an official statement from the local authority or agency? On the other hand, it is also worth asking, if this event was so big, why was there no live coverage from major media such as the BBC, CNN, or Reuters at the same time? Why do most of the reports come from fan accounts, unofficial YouTube channels, and TikTok posts with bombastic captions? Phenomena like this show how thin the line is between reality and engineering in the age of digital disinformation. It may be true that BTS's Jin is getting a great reception, but how big is the scale? Is there really a massive road closure? Or are there parts of the narrative that are exaggerated for the sake of exposure? These questions are important not to corner anyone, but to invite the public not to become passive consumers. Love for an artist should not obscure common sense. Loyalty to the idol figure should not be a reason to accept any information without filtering. We need to ask, who benefits from spreading the narrative BTS's Jin is welcomed by 100 million army in London? Is this purely an expression of fan love? Or is there a vested interest behind the spread of unverified data? Are we, as part of the social media ecosystem, unknowingly contributing to the dissemination of information that is not necessarily true? Furthermore, is it possible that these events are used by certain parties, whether agencies, promoters, or influencers, to create commercially favorable public opinion? If this is so, then it is important for us to reflect. Are we witnessing reality, or is it just a collective illusion wrapped in mass emotions? Criticism does not mean hate. Reflection does not mean total doubt. But both are a form of maturity in addressing events in the flow of information that is increasingly blurred boundaries. We are not only responsible for what we see, but also for how we perceive it. We are not suggesting that this whole story is untrue. What we're saying is that most of the information we receive comes from social media and independent sources, which of course has the potential for bias and fallacy. Therefore, we invite readers to remain skeptical, critical, and reflective in addressing any information, including this article. If you feel that these events are indeed real, please continue reading, dive deeper, and share them wisely. But if you doubt it, that's the first step to healthy critical thinking. Lastly, we want to hear your voice. What do you think about this phenomenon? Do you believe the welcome actually happened as claimed? Or do you suspect that a grand narrative is being systematically constructed for the sake of popularity? Let's discuss. Let's think deeper. And before you hit the share button, make sure you've hit the verify button in your mind. Thanks for reading. Don't forget to subscribe to follow other reflective content about pop culture, digital media, and global phenomena in this information age.